Gene Champagne, drummer for Teenage Head and the Killjoys, but after a battle with COVID-19, he's part of a new group, the Unteens, with a big show coming up, and we'll talk about that, but we're going to talk about that ordeal first. Good morning, Gene. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning,
Bob. You know, COVID is whipping around so much. I mean, all of us anecdotally know someone who's had COVID, but this is the first time I've spoken to someone who actually had to hear things like, do you want to call your wife, or do you want to be resuscitated if necessary? 8 days in an ICU?
Actually, I was 8 days on a ventilator in the ICU, and yeah, it was an ordeal. No one ever wants to hear, do you want to be resuscitated, but it's a reality.
Yeah. Now, first of all, this was in the third wave. Well, where were you at vaccination-wise? Were you vaccinated?
No, not yet. I think I wasn't sure if it's the third wave or the second wave. It was before the vaccinations were even out, so no, we weren't vaccinated. My wife and I, we took all the precautions that we needed to do. We were masking, we were social distancing, we were trying to keep within our bubbles, but eventually, unfortunately, sometimes bubbles clashes, and I think that's what happened here.
Yeah. Did you have, otherwise, a healthy guy, did you have any pre-existing conditions that would have contributed or compounded this?
No, I didn't, and that's the mystery. Well, when I was in the hospital, they said I was very lucky that I had a strong heart. It didn't take over any other organs in my body, so I was really lucky that way. And come to find out that there were no preconditioning, pre-existing conditions.
And it's interesting that actually you were testing negative at first, so that was puzzling for doctors.
Believe it or not, I tested negative 3 times, and it was but they were treating me like they had COVID. They were convinced I had it. And it wasn't until just before they put me on the ventilator, they had to actually do like a biopsy. That's how they actually tested down there. And that's when it finally tested positive.
What was your...
Sorry?
Well, I was just going to ask, what was your lowest moment through that ordeal of many?
My lowest moment was one time, I think I was just coming up out of the ventilator, I think, because they tried to wake me up once. And I had horrific hallucinations. There was a couple times where I felt like this was it. I was choking, I couldn't breathe, and it just seemed to take forever for a nurse to get to the room. And that was the scariest moment for me. I thought, I've come this far and I'm going to choke out and die here. That was the scariest moment.
It was, and how long was the recovery? When did you feel like I'm back to Gene Champagne?
It took a few months for sure. When I got home, I was with the walker and I was trying to walk as far as I could, eventually pushing it ahead, trying to catch up.
And walking's one thing, but then drumming is another thing altogether. Yeah,
it is. I did my first drumming rehearsal a couple of weeks ago, and it was hard. I got through it.
Bet.
I'm still going to work on it, but it takes a lot of energy, and I'm just glad to be doing it. I mean, that's one of the things that got me out of there is I kept thinking, I want to play, I want to play.
Yeah, and you had huge support from the music community across the country, led by Hamilton producer Lou Molinaro, who's part of the show that we're going to be talking about. But it's amazing how the community came together to support you. But before we run out of time in the show, we got to talk about July 22nd at the Casbah. You were on stage with some guys that I actually met at the Hamilton Music Awards years ago, and huge fans of your work, but also Dennis Dunaway of Alice Cooper fame. His bass is hanging in Cleveland at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You're going to be on stage with him and members of Blue Oyster Cult.
Yep, correct. It's going to be a great night. Looking forward to it. It's 2 days after my birthday, so I'm really happy.
Oh, fantastic!
About that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, how many acts in total? So we got Blue Oyster Cult. We've got the Unteens.
Yep, just us two.
Okay, that's all we need.
That's all we need. It's going to be a great night. I hope to see some faces.
These guys spent a lot of time in Hamilton too. As I mentioned, they're at the Hamilton Music Awards. But this is, how many visits have they made here, Blue Oyster Cult, or Blue Coop, I should say? It's kind of a, morphing.
It is. I'm thinking 3. This is probably the 3rd. I think so. Lou sort of brought them in, and they love coming back, and it's great to have them. They're a lot of fun to watch.
But Gene, will there be more cowbell?
There better be.
There better be.
There'll be one. There better be.
I think they actually Blue Coop named one of their albums more cowbell because they get that all the time. See you, Gene. See you July 22nd.
Thanks so much.